Hello everyone, welcome to Lesson 11, Social Responsibilities and Future Challenges of chaebol. The chaebol has been the backbone and driving force of Korean industrialization. In close alliance with the state, the chaebol has promoted exports, created jobs, and enhanced the prestige of Korean brands globally. Chaebol continues to serve as a dominant actor in the Korean economy. In our past lessons, we discussed major traits associated with the chaebol, the history of chaebol, the organization of chaebols, and their role in the Korean society and economic development. In today's lesson, we'll shift the focus a little bit and concentrate more on social responsibilities and the future challenges that the chaebol faces. Despite their reputation as successful and dominant corporations, the chaebol's business ethics and social responsibilities have not been those of first-class corporations. However, as chaebols grew, social expectations that the chaebol fulfill their role as a corporate citizen has been increasing. In particular, the chaebols are increasingly criticized for accumulating wealth through close relationships with the state. Demand for corporate social responsibilities will most likely affect the organization and mechanisms of the chaebol and their future successes. Today, we covered three main topics. The first is the definition of corporate social responsibility. The second is comparing corporate social responsibility of the chaebols with their responsibility to shareholders. And then lastly, we go over the future challenges that the chaebol faces. First, let's define the concept of corporate social responsibility. From here on, I will call it CSR. CSR refers to moral, ethical obligations of companies in running businesses in society, especially in issues dealing with social, economic, and environment. The concept of social responsibility is much broader than just returning company profits to shareholders. Traditionally, Korean chaebols have been perceived as the property of the founders. For example, it was very common to call Hyundai Jeongju-young's Hyundai. In recent years, the concept of corporate social responsibility has risen to challenge chaebols to recognize their responsibility as corporate citizens. After defining CSR, we'll compare the difference between CSR and the traditional conception of responsibility to shareholders. Chaebols have been the largest donors in Korean society, and they have been actively involved in CSR programs. However, their motivations in offering these donations have not always been 100% altruistic. Many times, large amounts of donations have been offered to rectify scandals. The idea of CSR is very interesting when you juxtapose it with the concept of responsibility to shareholders. Companies traditionally are known to be primarily responsible to shareholders and maximize products and services for their consumers. Some argue that the provision of social welfare services is the responsibility of the government rather than of the company. In the Korean case, however, despite numerous criticisms that the chaebol have not been picking up their social responsibilities, they have been providing job training and donations when the government did not develop a fully developed welfare system. Nonetheless, the chaebol faces high degrees of criticism due to their ownership, which is usually mainly owned by families, and their economic dominance in society. Lastly, we discussed future challenges facing chaebol as they face an increasingly global competition at a time when demands for CSR is rising. Their task is to generate wealth, continue to create profit, while at the same time addressing the demands for CSR and also address the concerns of chaebol accumulating wealth through their close relationships with the state. To sustain long-term growth, stronger corporate governance, increased transparency in corporate activities, and closer relationship between the chaebol and small and medium-sized enterprises are required. The government will have to perform better regulatory functions over the chaebol, and the chaebol will have to be more active in picking up their social responsibilities. When going over this week's material, please pay attention to the importance of corporate social responsibility and business ethics. Next week, we'll move beyond the Korean case to explore companies outside of Korea. In other words, non-Korean transnational corporations. I hope after this week's lesson, you spend some time thinking about what are the appropriate roles or responsibilities of chaebols in Korean society. Thank you.